So some examples of higher beings that you might call in are like angels or masters of light. Right now, masters of light are servants of God, right? They're messengers, just like angels are. They act as intermediaries, helping us to receive and helping us to understand and ultimately helping us to grow. Okay? And of course, angels are well known as servants of God who have a deep, deep understanding of the light. And so these beings can help us to see a different perspective on the question that is in front of us, a kind of higher perspective. And they also see us and they know us very deeply. And so they can really speak to us directly in a way that we can clearly receive. So to call such a being in, you could tone their name out loud and really tone their name for a really long time until you feel a noticeable shift or a noticeable difference in the room or a noticeable shift in your own inner state of being, in your own, way that your mind feels or your emotions feel, your energy body feels, right? So you want to tone their name for a really long time until you feel a shift in the room. Now, if you have a being who you already work with a lot, that's the perfect being to call upon. Okay? That familiarity will help you to open and to listen and to receive. But if you don't have any particular being who you have been working with, then here's a few ideas just for your consideration for beings you can call upon for advice. So Archangel Gabriel is well known as a messenger of God. And as such, Gabriel is highly skilled, maybe particularly skilled at being able to deliver God's messages, being able to communicate God's will or God's plan for us, right? To us in a way that we can understand. That's like a very special skill set to both, see and understand the light and the will of God, and then be able to translate that and communicate that in a way that we can understand from within our lives. So Archangel Gabriel would be a good choice. Hermes is well known as a master of light who is deeply wise. And in particular, he's able to travel. He's known as a being who is able to travel to all different kinds of worlds. And so he can really become part of your world and really understand you deeply. And then he can really share with you a perspective that can be very transformational, very helpful. It can really lift you up. Hermes is a very, very wise being. Isis is another option, a great goddess who's incredibly wise and very powerful. Now, I love receiving guidance from Isis because she's incredibly direct and kind of forceful in her messages. Her messages are very clear and crisp and like to the point. But therefore it's very easily received. You're with Isis, you're never unsure, you're never unclear if you got it. With Isis, you definitely got it. You got the message, right? And that's a blessing. that's a huge blessing. You know, that's a tremendous blessing. You know, she communicates so clearly. So you're really clear about the path. You're really clear about the message, the heart of the matter, you know? She cuts through to the heart of the matter, okay? And she's such a determined servant of light. She really wants the best for all of us, you know? And you really get that. You really get that in her messages. So I just really love receiving guidance from Isis. It's so clear, it's so crisp, it's so direct, you know. But it's very powerful and very, you know, very, very wise. Okay, another option is Quan Yin. These are all just, you know, none of these are required. You know, if there's a being who you particularly talk to, work with, pray to, get guidance from, use that being. These are just options for you to think about. Kuan Yin can be really, really great because of her vast compassion and her sort of, that compassion gives her a kind of gentle, mothering, loving energy that can that, that can really help us to hear the message. So don't be put off by the word mothering. Like imagine the most perfect divine mother. You know, the imagine a being who just absolutely loves you eternally, right? So Kuan Yin has this, sometimes you see, in order for us to really hear a message clearly, it helps if it's given to us while we're floating in an ocean of love, in an ocean of being loved, of being seen. You know, that's the magic of Kuan Yin. That's the power of Kuan Yin. Her compassion is so deep that she sees us so clearly, and then she just holds us in love, you know? And sometimes to really hear a message that maybe we don't want to hear, or our ego is kind of struggling with, or, you know, we're just resisting really hard, it can be really helpful to have that message given to us in an envelope of compassion, you know, surrounded by compassion and love and grace, you know, because what that does is it just completely makes us feel like, okay, okay, it's okay. I get it. And I really feel like it's okay. It's going to be okay, you know? Yeah. So Kuan Yin is great if that's, you know, you kind of need to know yourself a little bit and know the best way for you to hear things, and, you know, then work with the being that matches that. Okay. One final option is my good friend Ganesha. I really love working with Ganesha because his vibe is so joyful, you know? His vibe is so fun. You know, he just like, of course, he's this like wildly powerful being, and his joy and his fun is totally like this sword that he wields to cut through our resistance, to cut through the issue, to cut through the obstacle, to cut through the problem, you know? But at the same time, like, hey, if you're gonna have a kind of piercing message, why don't we laugh? Why don't we laugh while we're receiving some deep wisdom, you know? And the thing is, like, his joy is so delightful, and his messaging is so direct and so clear. He's all about just like cutting through the obstacles. Like, for example, the obstacles that are in my mind because I'm ruminating over this thing that isn't even a problem. And if you just, there it is, you know, that's it. You know, it's so clear, right? So these obstacles in my own mind that are keeping me from like my higher knowing, for example, like Ganesha is so great at just like cutting through all of that stuff. So Ganesha is a wonderful choice.